your spouse, your child, your self-worth, your body image, your purpose, your ability to have friends, like your mortality. Like your brain sees these big hurts and it is literally in a panic because to solve for these things is impossible. So you get to feel a certain amount of it, but most of it is repressed.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Dude Therapist. We have Nicole Sachs on. It's interesting. A couple of years ago, about 6 years ago, I'm not really good with math and COVID kind of threw off my timeline. I had my first panic attack and I ended up in a therapist's office. And he said to me, "Hey, have you ever heard of this therapist, Nicole Sachs? She has an amazing podcast." And I went, "No, let me look into her." And you've been in my ear and have been on my mind of seeing all your content since those moments of starting that journey of healing something I never experienced before, like panic attacks.
That's pretty wild.
Oh, this is a huge honor for me. I love that. I can't wait to text the therapist that I haven't seen in years because just now I'm not in New York anymore. Hey, by the way, bet you can't guess who I'm talking to today because he couldn't stop talking about you. So it's a huge honor to have you on. And before we get into the questions and the work that you do and the experience and knowledge that you have, can you give people a little taste of who you are if they don't know who you are yet?
Sure, of course. So I'm a psychotherapist. I am an author and podcaster myself, as you know. I work in the world of what they call mind-body medicine. The simplest way to explain it to people is how our stress and our overwhelm and our burnout, those are like kind of words of the moment, but really it's how our emotional overwhelm is affecting our physical health. And a lot of people can hear that and go, "Oh, yeah, sure. I know that stress, causes issues in health." But I don't think people understand quite how extreme the reactions can be in the body when there are when there's dysregulation in the nervous system caused by these things. So just to tell you really quickly, I come by this honestly. When I was 19, I was in college and my back went out so completely. I had to be brought home and I underwent all the tests, MRIs, x-rays, orthopedic surgery consults. And what was discovered is that I have an abnormality in my lower back. It's called spondylolisthesis. I had what they call degenerative spondylolisthesis, which meant that at 19, I was told no more exercise, no more travel, no more riding in the car for more than an hour because the bumpy car would destabilize my back. And the likelihood that I would have biological children was slim to none because of the weight of the baby on my back. So really crazy diagnosis. It led me on, first, obviously, quite a bit of despair, but which really opened to a path of curiosity about what else I could learn about my body, which brought me to the work of Dr. John Sarno, who I imagine you've heard of if you've been listening to my stuff. He is the grandfather of mind-body medicine. He was attending at NYU at the time for 50 years. And he became my doctor. After working through this program and understanding what was going on, he became my mentor. And then my colleague, we lectured for years together at NYU, helping other people move through the work. He referred into my practice. And when he passed away, he basically, handed me the baton of sorts and just said, "Please take this to the world," which is why your therapist has heard of me, because I've spent many years bringing this to the global stage in many different ways. And I seek to teach people that they have so much more power than they realize to affect their physical and emotional health.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I don't know if this is a big thing, but like in the world of Orthodox Judaism, Dr. Sarno's name is very popular.
I'm not surprised, actually, because when we used to speak at NYU, there were a lot of Orthodox Jews, and I remember that, and I remember rabbis. Like it was always, to me, the smartest people, heads of state, thought leaders, CEOs, clergy. Like it was the kind of people who really got it, but also were sometimes too smart for their own good and just like really making life very complex, which of course is very stressful to the nervous system. And that's something that we were always helping people understand.
Yeah, because I have a few friends of mine right now in my community, and like, oh, my brother had Crohn's and now he doesn't because of the Sarno method. Oh, I had this thing and the Sarno method, and it is a very beautiful thing. And it's so funny that when someone comes, and this is just maybe a thing that you have felt being in the work that you're in, that when it isn't the quote unquote classical style of thinking of something, it gets put in as fringe or on the edge or like mumbo jumbo, right? So can you talk a little bit about how it's not, and talk about the mind body connection to the layman who might go, come on, Nicole, like this is ridiculous. Anxiety, chronic pain, just pop some pills, go to the doctor, get some injections, get your, yearly checkup, do your thing, stop with all of this. Can you kind of explain it a little bit from the back end to help someone kind of start wrapping their head around what is happening?
You can imagine how many times I've gotten this question. Okay, here is the situation. You are not making it up. The pain is not in your head. You are not hysterical. You are not overly sensitive, and you are not at fault. Okay, the pain is not in your head. Here's what's happening. I could lecture to a room of 1,000 people and I could say, raise your hand if you've ever had a stressful day or been super overwhelmed and gotten a headache. Almost every hand in the entire room will go up and I'll go, okay, perfect. Keep your hand up if you ran to the ER that evening for a CT scan of your brain because you thought you had a brain tumor. So everybody laughs and they put their hand down. And I'm like, you see, what I am teaching you, you already believe. Everyone knows that stress can cause a headache. That is an emotional stimulus that causes a physical reaction. And I could do the same thing with, raise your hand if you've ever had a bad breakup and you lost your appetite. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of a comedian on their way to the stage, run to the bathroom and throw up. You wouldn't think that comedian just came down with the stomach virus. You would think he was really nervous and he threw up because that was his reaction to being nervous. Once again, an emotional stimulus that caused a physical response. Nobody argues that the mind-body connection isn't real. What people don't understand is that when something becomes chronic, we are habituated as a society to follow certain steps, right? You go to the doctor, then you go to the specialist, then you try the most mainstream treatment. Then if that doesn't work, you maybe try some alternative treatments. And eventually you are open to the crazy, weird, everything. And my whole goal in life is to kind of move my work out of the crazy, weird, everything, because the truth of the matter is what I'm teaching is straight up brain science. It is straight up connection between what is already happening in your body, your conscious understanding of it, and then a path to rewrite your neural pathways and completely eliminate chronic pain and anxiety. And the reason why I'm so confident, and this is what I'm sure you've heard listening to my podcast for years, I have hundreds of stories on my podcast of people who are completely well from myriad chronic conditions, but that's just the tiniest sampling. Between my book this past year and so many of my travels and my retreats, like I've met with thousands and thousands of people and they're well. So, the question I always say is like, this is your life. Is it worth replacing your skepticism and your fear with curiosity and seeing if what I'm saying might work for you?
Yeah, and I when you make that so clear with the way you're saying like, oh, the headache it's an obvious thing that everyone experiences on the daily. When I was younger, I was in a choir and I got so nervous before my first concert, I vomited on the side of the stage and didn't go on. Right? I didn't have an ulcer.
Sorry, because that's like so embarrassing.
Yeah, no,
but like
it's a story. It happened. It's a story.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and when people get nervous, right, and all those things, we have stomach issues or responses. And I remember growing up, I was about 9, 10 years old. I had like severe migraines and I went to the doctor, as people do. Okay, my son is having migraines. There should be no reason. He's 9 or 10. And the doctor said, there's nothing wrong on your scan. You are very stressed. And looking back, I was like, well, at the time, like, what is a 9-year-old stressed about? I was in a choir. There was a lot of attention, whatever. It was a whole situation, household stuff. It makes sense when you look back on it, right? And so it's just sad to me that an obvious thing gets put in as the mumbo jumbo weirdness. Because trust me, I have Crohn's. I've been to the weird mumbo jumbo middle of nowhere, someone selling a secret supplement that only they provide with no approval and oversight, but somehow it cures cancer kind of thing. This is not that.
Like,
This
this
is
is
something
the
that is so
furthest
researched,
thing
and
from
it's
that.
the furthest away. I know. So it's just so sad that when people mention something method, right, the Sarno method or the perspective of someone, people go, whoa, 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 whoa. But to make it into reality today, in a world where people are so skeptical, and what is fact, what is fiction, what is delusion, how does this fit in? Because people are so skeptical, whether it's COVID vaccine, ivermectin, this doctor's lying to me, the system, all this stuff. How do we help people trust when there actually is something like what you're talking about and what you are an expert in? Make it accessible and people actually pay attention and hold into it and really try it.
No, it's a great point. And I think that over the years, I have struggled with wanting to not beg people to listen to me. I was so transformed. So I mean, the end of my story is at 19, I was told no more exercise, no more travel, no biological kids.
No life.
You speak to me today. I'm 53. I have 3 children. They are 23, 21, and 17. I exercised until the day they were born. I have had an MRI later on just to see, because I've had no back pain for 25 years. And my scan looks exactly the same. It never degenerated. As Dr. Sarno said, I have what they call a normal abnormality. Just like we look different on the outside, we look different on the inside. These abnormalities oftentimes do not cause pain. And so here's what I would say to the skeptic. And this is where I kind of get into like, this is your life. This is not my life, meaning my life is great. I can run 5 miles on the beach. I'm in the best shape of my life. I have no physical chronic pain. I have no restrictions. But if a person is suffering, this is your life. You are here and you have the privilege of deciding. As of today, we still live in a free society and we can decide what it is we want to do with ourselves. When I published my second book, which was in February of 2025, the reason it was exciting, it's called Mind Your Body. And the reason it was exciting for me is because it's such a small investment. If you are willing to read one book or listen to me read it to you on Audible, and when you're finished with that book, if you think what I'm saying is total crap, if it's total nonsense, I leave you with love, but I bet you won't. I bet you will be astonished at how clear and scientific and far from woo-woo. There is nothing about this that is even, I'm a therapist, but there's nothing about that it's even therapy talk. Like, this is straight up neuroscience as to why the body is sick and how to reverse it.
And it's so interesting that, and I have, we're going to get into a little more. I'm just trying to get out all the people, the negativity that people have about a different way of thinking that hasn't been taught to them, or they've been denying a reality. Let's say, for example, someone's on medication all their life for cholesterol, high blood pressure, or even Crohn's, like a chronic illness. That fear of letting go of the thing that has helped them be in remission or be healthy. What do you say to people who are like, no, but your system might work, but I'm okay right now. And I don't take it away from me. Don't take away that safety.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not looking to take anything away from anyone. I believe,
Good.
I believe.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, no, I believe in Western medicine. In fact, one of the first things you'll hear me say when anyone, is interviewing me for the first time is, if you don't feel well, go to the doctor. I go to the doctor. I take my children to the doctor.
If you have an emergency, don't read my book. Go to the hospital.
Oh, I mean, I thank God for antibiotics. I thank God for modern surgery and all the things that we can do. So this is not, to be honest with you, Eli, if somebody's saying they're fine, I don't need them to even look in my direction. I am here for people who are not fine. I am here for people, like, I have a friend right now who was diagnosed with the early stages of rheumatoid arthritis, and she does not want to take the medication. I'm not here to I don't even have an opinion about the medication. She has read up about it and she doesn't want to take it. So she's come to me and she said, help me. She started doing my work. Her symptoms are down from like 80% of the time to 5% of the time. And she's
Amazing.
still scared. And like, that's fair because the world of RA and the world of autoimmune is telling her, you better be careful. If you don't start taking the medication, you could be forever damaged or
Whatever it
whatever.
is.
And like I said, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not here to tell you whether to take the meds or not. I'm here to tell you that the people who come into my office are often, they say none of the meds have worked for them, whatever the meds are. They've said that they have been to every doctor and either one of two things has been told to them. Either A, they have a diagnosis but no cure. You know, you're just going to have to learn to live with it kind of thing. And here are the options for treatment, but they're not curative. Or B, we can't find anything wrong with you and we don't know what to tell you. Sorry, you're in pain. Like those were very, very traumatic things to hear when you're young, or no matter how old you are, and you know you're looking at the rest of your life. So I'm here for those kind of people. I get that it's scary to change your life. That's why people don't really change their lives unless what they're living is more painful than the possibility of what's next.
I want to talk to the parents listening right now. If you love your partner but feel like after kids, everything got harder, it's not your fault. It's actually pretty normal. I wrote a book from I do to we do because couples don't get warned about the resentment, the invisible workload, the fights that escalate way too fast, and the disconnect that sneaks in. The book is part real life, part therapist brain with tools to fight better, reconnect deeper, and actually feel like a team again. Because parenting should feel like us versus the chaos, not me versus you. From I Do to We Do is available now. Order at LCSW.com. Yeah, for sure. I just want to get that out of the way because some people think that when someone on a podcast or someone who is an expert in a certain way, that they are trying to take away their safety to push their thought process, which I know is not true in your case. I know it's not true, but I just want to make sure people can hear it, that there is things that you are talking about and things that you're not. And I just want to get it out of the way so we can get to the actual things.
It's a really good.
And by the way, so everyone hears, I ordered your book yesterday because there are a few people in my life that have had unfortunate things where they are told, my father-in-law has Parkinson's. There is no cure, right? My mother-in-law has been told, we don't know why this and that is happening, but here's what it is. And so like, I bought it because I want to read it and I want to help them and give it to them. This is not like some mumbo jumbo weirdness, and it is good, science-based, healthy, for the right person who is open to it. And it could be for anyone, but if you're afraid and you have things under control in your mindset, this is not a stealing your safety and convincing you otherwise. Just to get that out of the way and clear it so that no one thinks like, oh gosh, what are we pushing here? Nothing.
Also, I
just
really
talking.
think it's important to say that not only are we not pushing anything, the whole point is if you are looking for a better, richer, fuller life, then you're looking. And if you're not, there's no reason to even move out of your comfort zone. In 12-step recovery, they say it's a program of attraction, not promotion. And I really think the same of my work, meaning I'm over here living my best life. It's all founded in neuroscience, which are all linked into my book. So you can read the studies from Harvard and from USC and from Michigan and from all over the country. So you don't, and the world. So you don't have to believe me. You can believe the scientists from the places that you trust. And here we are offering something where if you're curious, come on over and have a seat.
Here it is.
That's all it is. I mean, it's really actually very important. I'm not pushing anything on anyone. I'm just offering a hand.
If you want,
If you want,
here we are. So let's get into it, right? In a world that is such a pressure cooker, news, social media, like we're just being so bombarded with overstimulation and so much anxieties and stressors around us. How do we not have, which I know the numbers are that there's more chronic illness and autoimmune diseases than ever before. How do we start helping our lives when our lives are just so packed and jammed with this? You can't breathe. You feel like you're underwater.
Well, when I used to lecture with Dr. Sarno at NYU, the number one frequently asked question would be, hey, I can't quit my job. I need this salary and I'm not going to get it anywhere else. I don't want to leave my marriage. I don't want to put my kids up for adoption. I don't want to rob a bank. This is my life. I can't get out of these stressors, so how can I possibly feel well? And what we used to say is, once you understand the neuroscience behind why the body is responding the way it's responding to stress, once you get it and you're no longer confused about this mind-body dance, your life can be exactly the same and you can be without chronic pain, because it's not about changing your life. And this is a very, very key sentence. It's about understanding how you feel about it. So I'll expand on that. As a human being, as any animal, actually, your perception is your reality. The problem with human beings is we have such an advanced ability to think and reason that our perception of something can be different from the reality. So, for example, if you're in a herd of gazelles and you're at the watering hole and a lion walks through the savannah, everybody in the herd is going to become tense, right? And the whole herd is going to become, they're going to be telepathically talking to each other, being like, are we going to flee, right? There's tension in the herd. But let's say the lion has recently fed and it just walks through the savannah and disappears in the brush. After a certain period of time that is understood by the instincts of these animals, they're going to shake it off and they'll probably just continue drinking at the watering hole. There is no reason to run. They understand, they perceive and understand the threat has passed. That is something that animals are able to do. Humans, on the other hand, are the only animal that are capable of making what's happening in our heads between our two ears more real than something that's even right in front of us. And the reason that's important is because your perception is your reality. And if you think you're unsafe, you are unsafe. It doesn't actually matter if you are actually unsafe or not. One of the stories I like to tell is if you were walking down the street and you saw a shadow kind of waving in the distance and you were sure that it was somebody with like a weapon that was going to jump out and attack you, your body is going to start undergoing changes. There's going to be changes in respiration, circulation, heart rate, digestion, elimination. All the things that happen in the human body for fight or flight are going to start enabling themselves so you can save your own life. Now, let's say you come around the corner and you're looking and you see, oh my goodness, it is a bush in the exact perfect shape. And in the wind, it looked exactly like, so you are certain now you are certain that it's a bush. It's going to take a few minutes, but your systems are going to come back to rest and repair, from fight or flight to rest and repair, and you will be able to continue on your walk. Here's the problem, and here's why what I just said about you don't have to change your life, you just have to know how you feel about it. And this is the place where, like I said, people can go to the scientific studies, they can understand, but if you want to engage in this conversation, you have to just understand that what I'm saying is true. The next sentence. Your brain and your nervous system perceive your repressed emotional world, the stuff that's too big to deal with, as a threat to your life. The reason is because when the human brain seeks to find a solution to something, the human brain seeks simple, easy, clear-cut solutions. That is literally how we are built. So the human brain likes math. It likes something that is fixable and manageable and you can perceive as controllable, because when you perceive something even slightly in your control, you feel safer. So what happens is, if the problem is a broken arm and you say, I think I hurt myself, it really feels serious. You go to the doctor, you get an x-ray, it's a broken arm. The arm is set, the cast is set. The brain loves that. Here's what the brain doesn't know how to solve for. Your mother, that's it. Your spouse, your child, your self-worth, your body image, your purpose, your ability to have friends, like your mortality. Like your brain sees these big hurts and it is literally in a panic because to solve for these things is impossible. So you get to feel a certain amount of it, but most of it is repressed, because that is the way, the term defense mechanism sometimes gets a bad rap, if people talk about Freud, but in its very essence, a defense mechanism is there because it defends you, it protects you. So when you repress, it's because like you've only felt as much as you could feel for the day, and the rest of it kind of goes down. So I want you to envision a clear science beaker, a reservoir that exists, let's call it from your belly to your chest, in every human being that lives. And in this reservoir is all the rage, shame, fear, despair, embarrassment, regret, all the big feelings that you might see like a touch of them when you're like angry at your brother, but you don't feel the rage. You don't feel the years of built up whatever, right? It's in there. Here's what happens. Something happens, it's a trigger, and that reservoir starts to overflow. And when it overflows, it knocks on the door of consciousness, and it threatens to inform your conscious brain of exactly how enraged, how ashamed, how despairing you are about anything. That is all of a sudden perceived as a threat by your nervous system, the same way the bush was. You didn't know if it was a bush or a predator, but you knew it was scaring you. But the problem with these amorphous things, with these things that are complex, like your mother, is that your brain can't solve for it. There is no Dr. Cast, time that you need to be out of the game. And so what happens is you go into long-term, sustained fight or flight. There is no end to it. And what happens when the body is in fight or flight is it needs to be protected. Pain, by its very nature, inflammation, muscle constriction and spasm, neuropathy, all the reasons we experience pain are seen as a protective state. When you are in pain, there are several things that happen. First, you pause. How often in life do we even pause? Second, you soften. So you might be the guy who never asks for help. If you're in enough pain, you soften. You ask for help. So what happens now? Now you're a member of your community, whereas before you were like Mr. Lone Wolf, right? Now you're asking for help. What else do? You lower the demands on yourself. So if you're like a super perfectionistic, type A, I got it all together, you're going to be a little gentler on yourself. You're in pain. The body and the brain loves this because all of a sudden you are taking care of yourself. The neural pathways rewire and it keeps you right there. This is what people have. This is why people have chronic conditions, because quite frankly, your brain and your nervous system perceive this modicum of control, the fact that you can take your meds, that you can go to the doctor, that you can cancel your plans, that you can ask your spouse for support, as a better place to live than in upending the system, understanding the neuroscience, and getting yourself out of that fight or flight state. And that's what I offer. So it's simple, but it's not easy, but it will deliver you into an entirely new life.
So chronic pain is your body's selfish way of getting attention to be taken care of.
That is a really interesting take, and it's not untrue. That would be an
it's not purposeful. It's not that someone is doing it on purpose as a manipulation of the system, but your brain is manipulating the system to say, hey, you got to take care of yourself. This is nice and comfortable. Keep doing this. We're getting our needs met.
Exactly. And it's really comes down to that your nervous system has one basic primary purpose, which is to keep you alive. If you're not alive, It doesn't matter the problems you're having at work. It doesn't matter how your kids are acting out. Like, you have to be alive for any of this to matter. So safety or danger are really the only two things that the nervous system are going to scan for first and foremost. So yes, it allows you to get attention, but more than anything, it keeps you in a place that I like to call safe in the unsafest way. You're safe because your nervous system perceives you as safe, but like, you don't want to be home with migraines. Like, you don't want to be so inflamed that you're down to like 4 foods on your elimination diet. You don't want to be so stricken by back pain that like you keep calling out of work. Like, you don't want that. But quite frankly, your nervous system thinks that this is safe.
You don't want it, but your system's like, shut up and listen.
This is what we got.
When I just finished writing a book myself and on relationships, and I was talking about men in relationships and the vulnerability and opening up in a relationship. And the quote that stuck out to me was by Vander Kolk, that as long as you keep secrets and suppress information, you're fundamentally at war with yourself. And that is when you consistently repress, don't process, don't deal with your stuff, your system is fighting itself,
Yes.
which then in turn is chronic pain.
Yeah.
Right? Your system is literally trying to scream and you're just not listening.
That's right.
So why do people wait till everything's falling apart? They have the unfortunate heart attack. They have the scary diagnosis. They're having the migraines. What are some things that we can pay attention to listen better to our bodies so that we aren't at war with ourselves and start healing earlier on than waiting till, not that it's too late, but waiting till like the last push that gets us over the hump to start actually focusing on ourselves?
I mean, to be honest with you, it's kind of the human condition. We are just impossible. We don't want to get uncomfortable. We don't want to. And I think a lot of that is just societal conditioning.
But isn't pain uncomfortable? Like, why is pain not enough? Why is the suffering not enough
I mean, I'll be
to be
honest with
uncomfortable
you,
enough?
I find that in polling the people that come into my work, oftentimes the pain is enough. They just don't know about it. I mean, one of the things that, with the book and with the podcast and everything that we're doing now, the goal is to blanket the planet. My goal, and it is a lofty goal, but I stand by it, is that everyone on the planet knows this work, my work and the work of Mind Body Medicine, is an option for them. Not everyone is going to pick up what I'm putting down, but on the regular, I get an email, and this is very extreme, but it's not extreme for me because I get these emails a lot where someone will say something like, and this is a person I've never met. This is someone who's come across my stuff, that's out there online. They'll say, I had chronic pain for X number of years. I could not live with it anymore. I made a decision that if by Christmas I wasn't well, I was going to take my life. There was one woman who wrote, I used to sit on the couch and Google ways to take my life with my daughter and my husband on the other couch. Like, these are really extreme, terrible, sad stories that rip your heart open. Like, how can people be living like this? And when they write the email to me, they say, and at 3:00 in the morning on a deep dive, I found this interview you gave, and I went to your site and I started doing the work, and I'm writing to tell you that I'm back to work full time. I'm writing to tell you that I'm having my second baby. I'm writing to tell you that I've never been, more well. And the last line of that email is always something like, I can't believe I didn't know this work was an option for me. So my real goal in my life and in my career is to be out there, to talk about it, to share, because if a person is in pain, to be honest, I think many people are open to this. I don't think they have to wait until it's super tragic. I mean, right now over at Your Break Awake, which is our hub, what we're trying to do is raise the bottom. We don't want it to have to be the people on disability. We want it to be like, I have a lack of energy. I have a lack of joy for life. I get a few headaches a month and it's a drag. Like, help me regulate my nervous system. Help me live in an optimal way for health.
Wow. I'm so excited for you to be here then so that we can, spread it more because, that's our job, right? As therapists, as professionals, helping people, let's really help people. My focus is really relationships and couples. And something that I really wanted to ask you is, when it comes to the partner relationship and someone being tuned into this, hearing and trying the methods that you are putting down, and the other person is not supportive or making fun of, can you help people navigate that reality of, I'm doing what's best for me, you don't have to sign, I'm not forcing you to do it? Can you talk a little bit about those pressures? And then we'll get into some of the men questions and masculinity and emotional struggle.
I really think that it comes down to, you have to live in a way that is best for you. We are told as a society to be, women especially, but men too. I have a lot of men in my communities, be quiet, be convenient, God forbid, don't be angry. If a man is angry, he has anger issues and he's scary. And if a woman is angry, she's shrill and hysterical. And it's never okay to be angry. It's never okay to be too sad, because you can be sad for like a little while, but like after that, come on, turn the page, man up. Like, we are just taught. And so if your partner isn't aligned with this, and this is something that's really right for you, I mean, I see it in my communities all the time. And it's really fine. Like, I also think that a lot of times what happens in couples is one person begins this kind of work and the other person is skeptical. I don't get a lot of people making fun of each other. I mean, to be honest, if you love someone and they're suffering and they're willing to do something, I mean, this work is like personal work. So it's not, you're not asking anything of them, And so I guess what I'm saying is, like, oftentimes a partner will observe this and then kind of be inspired to do it for themselves, because it's like, wow, I'm over here watching my partner be like so happy and vibrant and well. I kind of want that for myself. That's the program of attraction, not promotion, right? But what I want to do mostly is I want to inspire people to honor themselves. We are a people-pleasing society where we think we are better people if we put other people first. And that is not to say you shouldn't prioritize others. It's that you are also important. And if you're unwilling to honor yourself, your body, like you said, you were quoting Bessel van der Kolk, your body will keep the score. If you are unwilling to get out of your comfort zone and say to your partner, hey, listen, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. This makes sense to me. This is rooted in neuroscience. If you don't want to learn about it, that's fine, but I'm going to do that for myself. Like, that in itself is such a power move, and is such a move of self-compassion, where it's time for you. Like, even a lot of times with parents, they're like, oh, well, I put my kids first. That's fine. But there's a reason why the whole, put on your oxygen mask before you help others. I remember being a kid and hearing that and being like horrified, like looking over at my mother, like, oh, save yourself before me. Thanks, woman. Like, I really did think it was hilarious. And as I got older, I was like, oh, I understand, because she can't put my oxygen mask on if she's passed out on the floor.
Yeah.
I get it. It's not selfish. It's the only way we can help others is if our own cup is full. And so, that's my best answer for that.
No, I love that. And I wrote a chapter in my book called The Oxygen Tank with that description of self-care as a parent and a relationship, and wrote, like, that sounds so selfish and disgusting that someone would be like, no, you sit there and suffer. Let me take care of myself first, kind of, when you hear it for the first time. What in your mind are some of the, I guess, beliefs or myths about pain and emotions that men and women desperately need to like unlearn?
I mean,
and are there differences?
Yeah, I mean,
in each one?
I'll say the basic ones first, and then I can think about the gender differences. I mean, basically, the first thing I want to say is people think emotions don't matter. People think that they're secondary. Like, yeah, you have to deal with like what's really in front of you, and then you can deal with your emotions. And that's why I spend the first third of my book and the first beginning of most of my lectures talking about the neuroscience, because what people need to understand is your emotions are literally dragging you around like a leash with your neck in a collar. You don't realize it because you think, oh, I just push that away. I don't think about it. I don't deal with it. I know you don't deal with it. And that's why your migraines are keeping you in bed. And that's why your back went out. And that's why you have so much IBS. You can't run far from the bathroom. Like, you think that your emotions don't matter. And I am here essentially to wake you up to what's already happening in your body. So that's the first thing I would say is if you believe that when the comedian goes on stage, that when they throw up, if you believe that they have the stomach virus, then, go off and live your life. And I wish you all the best. But if you understand that most likely they threw up because they were scared and nervous, if you believe that most likely when you have a terrible breakup and you're not hungry, it's not because, you have some terrible parasite. It's because you are sad, you are despairing. If you believe that, then you have to believe that your emotions are affecting your physical health. And I'm here to explain to you all the ways in which they are.
And when it comes to the differences,
if you want me to speak to the men thing, as I started to say, basically no emotions in at least No, I'm not. I was going to say Western society, but definitely Eastern society too. Definitely emotions are basically disallowed. Anger, dangerous on all levels, as we said. Grief, unacceptable. You can have a little bit of it, but then I don't know how to even talk to you anymore. Shame. I mean, my goodness, the way Brene Brown defines shame is guilt is I did something bad, and shame is I am bad. And so think about how heavy that is. Basically, I'm bad. I'm a bad person. That's not welcome. So if it's men, it tends to lead to more defensiveness. It tends to lead to more self-isolating and not wanting to be vulnerable. And with women, it tends to be one of two things, either extremely emotional to the point where they're constantly being judged and corrected for that, or so shut down emotionally that they just are sick all the time. And they're seen as weak and ineffective because they can't get out from under themselves. And so it's basically like, my work is not for people in chronic pain. My work is for human beings because there is no cure for the human condition. We are here to feel big. The whole point of being here is to love and to connect and to experience the richness of life. But that the other side of that coin is the stress and overwhelm that comes with it. And when you can, most of my prescription, as Dr. Sarno said, is knowledge. I am explaining to you what's happening in your body. And so you can then use my tools should you choose to regulate and allow your nervous system to go from fight or flight to rest and repair. Because when it does, and this is, I just say this, I invite you to go over to the Cure for Chronic Pain podcast and listen to these stories. When it does, you can eat anything you want. You can travel. You don't need a certain number of hours of sleep to survive. You can lift anything you want in any way that you want. Astonishing the way people's bodies change, their physical health changes as a result of this. So emotions are a big deal.
100%. And if we just open our eyes, it's every day that we are dealing with things. And I always like to bring up Dr. David Burns with the conversation about repressed emotions and not handling things with feel-good therapy. And in his book, he talks about the idea of the rug, right? Like there's certain things you don't have the brain power and time to always process every interaction stimulus that happens. So it gets pushed under the rug or in a closet somewhere that you pretended to clean your room and shoved everything hoping no one would open it. Well, guess what? Your body opens it and screams at you. So how do we start opening it safer? What are some of the beginning steps that the stuff is there? We've been pushing it down, not handling it well as a society, as individuals. How do we start opening that closet, so to speak, to start letting things out, analyzing it, healing it, and processing it so that it doesn't just all come flooding into our existence and crushing us?
Exactly. So realize that the way I constructed my program is first by living it. So when I met Dr. Sarno and he explained to me all of this mind-body medicine and the ways in which to regulate, I lived it. And as I lived it for years, I documented it. And then I worked in private practice for 18 years and I worked with people in the trenches day in and day out. And so over this period of time, let's call it, 25, 26 years, I have collected best practices and I've taken them, put them into Mind Your Body. So that's the easiest way to learn about them. But basically, in short, there are three legs of the stool. Leave, meaning the knowledge, do the work, which is I have a signature program that helps people put a ladle into that reservoir and dump it out, and self-compassion, patience and kindness for yourself, especially men. People don't even know what self-compassion is. And the one thing I'll say is that doing this work or any healing work without understanding the total core of self-compassion is like bailing out a boat with a hole in the bottom. Like, don't do that to yourself. Pause and understand what self-compassion is, because essentially we have an unconscious thread of conversation going on in our minds all the time, completely derailing ourselves. We are the voice of every one of our abusers. We are the voice of every critical parent, every critical teacher, coach, bully. It is all there. And until we press pause on that inner conversation, it can be really difficult to overcome. So essentially, those are the three legs. Believe, do the work, and patience and kindness for yourself, and the stool sits. So when you say, how can we begin to regulate? It's not just like, here's the tool. Over the years, my agent used to say, can't you just write a book like 5 minutes to this? And I'm like, I can't. I wish I could, but I just don't believe it. If there's anything I am, it is honest. And like, you need to, all three legs need to be there for the stool to stand. But having said that, it's so funny. Every interview I've ever been on, they're like, okay, yeah, so what do we do? And when I
Tell me the secret now.
Yes, exactly. And when I was on my book tour and I was on the Today Show, I had 5 minutes, which is a long time for the Today Show, but it's a short time in life. And I remember sitting there and going, I know what they're going to ask me. They're going to right away ask me, like, how do we make it better? And so I did. If anyone's interested in watching that clip, it's the first pinned video on my Instagram page, and you'll watch me continually. And he's such a sweet guy, not answering his question, because I had to say this stuff first for people to understand. But having said that, the tool I teach people is going to sound simpler than it is, but it's an expressive writing technique, and it's called journal speak. And I created it through my own experience because I was told by Dr. Sarno to like journal about my feelings and see if we could bring the unconscious to the conscious. And I was like, okay, man, I can't like walk upright. You're telling me to journal? Like, if anyone's a skeptic, please know I was the number one skeptic. I was the number one hater. And he was like, you'll be surprised. There are things in there. So I started doing this work, and it's a longer story than we have time for today, but it's certainly, it's told many times on my podcast, and it's told in full on my first podcast ever called My Story. But basically, I created this tool where it is a impolite just rant that I teach people, a 20-minute rant followed by a 10-minute meditation. So it's a 30-minute practice, and it's like, you rip it up the second you're done, or you delete it the second you're done. It's like blowing your nose in a tissue. We are getting something out. There's no need to look at it again. It is from the voice of this inner child. You write the letters you'll never send. You win every argument you've ever entered into. And in this process, as simple as it sounds, you start to change. You are no longer fighting yourself. You don't have to confront anyone. You don't have to change your life. And as you move through it, and like I said, you do have to do it specifically, so it's not just like go journal and like see if it good luck to you. That's why I've taken so much time to put it down on paper. But it's remarkable when you are free from that both of those thought leaders that you've talked about have said, if you cannot put it under the carpet, you cannot put it in a closet, it doesn't work. And if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will say, okay, fine, I'll try something new.
I wish I had like 2 more hours to talk to you because there's so many other things to get to. And I cannot wait to read your book, because as someone with a chronic illness, and I have anxiety and know that when I am more stressed and have pressure in my life, the worse my symptoms get. And it's very obvious that they are very interconnected, and it's very sad that we're not listening as a people. So if you could talk right to the people who are listening today or watching, what would be 1 or 2 things you would want them to hear on the beginning of this process of this journey?
First thing I would say is, no matter how alone you feel, you are not alone. I have walked this path alongside so many thousands of people. No matter how unique you feel, we all suffer from terminal uniqueness. Oh, no, you don't understand. My pain is real. And I say, oh, all pain is real. It is not in your head. Let me explain to you why it's happening. It's not if it's happening. It's why are those pain signals firing? So I would say you are not alone. There is community for you. There are answers for you, no matter what you have heard. And I know that you have spent your life going to experts. First it was your parents, then it was your doctor, then it was your specialist, then it was whatever team you've created to be like the things that you do. I promise you the real expert is you. And I will show you how to unlock that within yourself and change the way you feel in your body in ways that you may not believe. And it's just my privilege and my honor to do so, since it's created my entire life.
So where can people find everything that you just said?
Everything that I just said. So we worked very hard to make our website like a hub, like a place where you could go and like everything you needed.
Beautiful
there.
website.
Yes, thank you. So the easiest way to go, just because people will remember this most, is go to NicoleSachs.com. I'm sure you'll put it in your show notes.
It'll be in the show notes.
SACHS, NicoleSachs.com. And then the membership tab has all our community. So I meet with people live on Zoom twice a month, and we have a private community where I'm answering questions every day. So that's personal attention from me. We also have lower tiers of community where you just get a ton of content and boot camps and, other ways to do it. It links to my book, my Instagram at Nicole Sachs, LCSW, which is, I think, where you found me. And I'm putting out new stuff there all the time. I do a couple retreats. We are every summer at the Omega Institute in New York. And that's the last week of June. Retreat tab on my website. You can find out how to be with us actually live and in person, which is such a delight. And that is up for sale on the Omega website right now. We also just booked one in Austin, Texas, in Miraval. So that's going to be next fall. What else can I tell you? Just go to the website and check it out. There are just so many things. If you're curious, if you just want to marinate in the material, just go to the Cure for Chronic Pain. It's a podcast on every podcasting platform that I've been doing since 2018. Just listen to the stories and be like, have your mind blown. If you're new to this and you're at all skeptical, just do that first. Listen to some podcasts and say, damn, I want what she's having. And if that's the case, you'll come and do it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Follow now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and finally, see me on YouTube.